I hear people in their sales pitch all the time say, the reason you're broke is because you don't know how to make decisions. And because you don't make decisions, you sit on the fence and you suffer from paralysis of analysis. So go buy my program and I'm gonna show you how to fix that.
Once again, here we go. Know the name on the flow. Turn me up a little more.
All right, so Cole, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time to join us here.
For sure.
High-end client acquisition.
Thanks for hanging out at my house.
100%. It was an awesome event, by the way, guys. And you'll see the vlog and everything else. But what I want to share with my audience that maybe are not familiar with your story and how you actually got to where you are today and what you do and all the multiple businesses that you do. Do you mind to just give us your backstory?
Sure. So I was a firefighter. I wanted to play with fire, save lives, and get paid for it. I got in a really bad car accident. I was in a wheelchair for a while, and we didn't know how well I would recover, and obviously I've recovered. But in those first few months while I was learning how to walk again, being a firefighter for the time didn't look like it was going to be an option. So out of necessity, I started thinking to myself, well, if I have some type of a disability or a handicap for the rest of my life, I need to be able to make money all by myself and not worry about a career or an employer that's going to say, oh, you're on crutches or you're on a cane or whatever, you're in a wheelchair, I can't hire you. So that's when I turned towards entrepreneurship, decided to do real estate, and that was in 2005 that I started my real estate business, started crushing it in real estate. The recession came, I got crushed. Here in America, 2008 was a rough year for real estate investors. It didn't get much better through 2010. And I learned a valuable lesson that I should diversify my income, not have all my marbles in one basket. And so I slowly put myself back together, restarted my real estate business, but actually figured out what I was doing this time and not just got lucky. And then I started a bunch of other businesses too, like a digital marketing agency. I have my company called Thrive, which is what we just did today, the Thrive Academy. And it's grown into a pretty awesome little enterprise that my wife helps me with some of it. My dad helps me with my real estate business. And I just have amazing partners and I'm doing work that matters to me now.
Awesome. And of course, you gave us the short version of the story. I heard more about it today and a bunch of other things like your motto, the make money matter. And you just blew my mind, at the end of these 2 days with the strategies that you shared with us, and we can all apply them in different businesses, brick and mortar, speaking from stage. But what I want to ask you, if you can share with us a couple of the strategies that we learned during these 2 days, how can people apply them online? So one of them that really grabbed my attention was a couple of them. So I got 5 of them that I really want to point out. The first one would be us versus them. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've heard anybody teach this the way that you do. So do you mind to just give us some context on how we can apply that online?
Yeah,
sales letters and...
So us versus them helps us create an identity. So if you have a customer, client, student, whatever you call your person that exchanges money with you, let's just call it a customer. If you are trying to help your customer make a buying decision and want to buy your product, service, or whatever it is that you offer, it's important to point out the characteristics of a buyer and tell them that they are that person. So for instance, let's pretend I'm selling coaching on how to do a podcast, right? And I want you to give me thousands of dollars to teach you how to do a podcast. I'm going to say, you're the type of person that invests in, or if I'm in a room like an audience, I'm going to say, you're the type of people that invests in training and coaching because you realize that time is more valuable than money. And if you can pay money to shorten the time it takes to learn something, you're going to do it. Where people out there, they're the ones that just look for shortcuts. They don't want to invest money. They don't want to invest time. They just want it now. They want something for nothing. And at the end of the day, what they end up with? Nothing. But you and us in this room, we don't think like that. We know that there's no such thing as something for nothing. There's only return on investment. So we invest our time to listen to podcasts like this. We invest our money to come to events like this or whatever it is. And we invest our money into coaching to get the results we want faster. While people out them out there, right? Us versus them, they're always just being cheap with their handout, hoping for handouts. And so again, the way that you work it is you help create an identity with the person that you're talking to, that they're the type of person that would invest in your program, that would buy your product, your service, etc. And the people that wouldn't, those are those people out there, and they're lazy and they don't want to, or they're not, again, depending on the context, they're not self-starters, they're not interested in actually getting results. And it allows you to create kind of separation where you project all the good characteristics on the person you're sitting in front of, and all the bad characteristics, really the reasons why they wouldn't do business with you, on people out there. And when you ask them to make a decision, they now identify as the type of person that wants to invest in your product or program, because they would never want to be like the people out there, right? So it's like, people out there, they have excuses. Oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. But people like you make decisions. You ready to get started? Oh, I don't have the time and the money. They'll never say that now because they don't want to sound like the people out there.
No, and I love the way that you position it, because we can really use this in our video, sales letters, in the video ads that we run on YouTube.
Oh, totally.
Facebook, Instagram, whatever. So, like, it's, in my opinion, I think this is like super gangster, the way that you call it, and I can't wait to actually get back and start implementing it. So, question number 2, you talked a lot about positive presuppositions, right? And how to try to get away from the negative ones and to not use that in our ads, in our message to our audience. Do you mind expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so all advertising is about fear or not being enough, right? From women's makeup, you're not pretty enough, to diet and exercise, you're not skinny or healthy enough, to training and programs, you're not smart enough, right? So, and that's the way, that's the narrative of advertising. But when you're directly speaking to someone, and that's, I do that, right? I'll advertise, like, if your business isn't where you want it to be, come to my event, let me teach you. So speaking, not from a scarcity mindset, but pointing out that there's not enough of something is fine. But when you're talking to someone, what a presupposition is something you presuppose of the other person. And when you are talking in a broad sense, it's fine to use negative terminology. But when you're talking to an individual person, you don't want to use what I would call negative presuppositions. I hear people in their sales pitch all the time say, the reason you're broke is because you don't know how to make decisions. And because you don't make decisions, you sit on the fence and you suffer from paralysis of analysis. So go buy my program and I'm going to show you how to fix that. But you've just shot yourself in the foot because you literally just told them that you're broke. And the reason you're broke is you can't make decisions, but now I want you to make a decision today to go invest money into my program. You just told them that they don't make decisions and don't have money, but now you've asked them to make a decision to spend their money. And this is such a common mistake so many salespeople make. What you're going to want to do is use positive presuppositions, and then the negative characteristics, like we just talked about, you put on the them, right? So us, so watch this. People out there, they're the type of people that are going to complain. They're the type of people that are going to use excuses. They're the type of people that can't make decisions, that sit on the fence and suffer from paralysis of analysis, and as a result, they don't have money. So I'm not talking about my person, I'm talking about them out there. You can say, but people like us, we realize that although we've done well, we can do better. And we're willing to make decisions right now. And people like you and I, when we see an opportunity to put our family and our business in a better position, we make that decision and we make it right now, and we do it every time. While people out there sitting around complaining that they don't have the time, you and I, we make the time. And so by using positive presuppositions, if I'm wanting them to buy my product or service, I just told them they're the type of person that makes a decision. They're the type of person that's not afraid to make an investment. They're the type of person that wants something better in their life. That's a positive presupposition. I'm presupposing those positive things on them. And what that does is it really helps your closing ratio go up, because I didn't just tell someone that they're a loser and they're broke and never make a decision, but now make a decision to invest. I told them that they have money. I say, hey, although you're doing fine financially, we all are committed to doing better. Because if I tell someone they're broke, that's not going to help them spend money. But if I say you're doing fine but ready to do better, they can agree with that. I don't think there's a person, I bet you if we asked Jeff Bezos, do you want to make more money, he'd say yes. And he's the wealthiest person on earth right now. So it's just speaking to that narrative.
No, 100%. And the way that you really narrated into how we can apply it in really in any kind of business. Like, I know we're talking about online, but now this can be applying, like I just visualize it in any kind of brick and mortar stuff too. And you just started doing something, and probably you just do it subconsciously. You'll want to do this because, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I guess you just caught it. So using desire words. Most people who don't know what they're doing, they, what do? They use, like, not command words, but I call it threatening language, where yeah, you have to listen to this podcast or else you're not going to have the answers. And without the answers, you're going to lose money. So you better sit down. You better set yourself aside and get away from all the noise and the chaos and the TV and the distractions. And you better listen to this whole thing, right? And it's like command language and being threatening, where I recommend using desire words instead. And I would say, instead of you have to listen to this, I'd say, hey, you're going to want to listen to this entire episode because you're going to love the content that you get, and you're going to enjoy taking the things that you've learned, the steps that you've learned, applying it and seeing the results in your life. I just said the same thing. You have to listen to this podcast, otherwise you're going to miss this content and your life's going to fall apart. I could say the exact same thing, but in a positive, using desire words. You're going to want, not you have to listen to this, no. You're going to want to listen to this because you're going to love the information, not because then you won't have the information and your life's going to suck, because you're going to want the information and you're going to enjoy the results it gives you. And so by just flipping that conversation of like yelling at people about you have to do this or else, to say, hey, you're going to want to do this because you're going to love what it does for you. It just, their subconscious brain, they absorb it easier with less resistance. And by the way, I'm not making this stuff up. This is all rooted in psychology. This isn't a theory. This isn't a hypothesis. This is actual human psychology. And we have these cognitive bias in our mind. And there's nothing you can do to turn them on or off. It's the way that we are wired as human beings. And so if you spend some time studying human psychology and you understand how the human brain works, I can use word patterns and language that is more received with less resistance, which helps in the long run conversions. If your last client told you hell no and you use this, that doesn't mean you necessarily would have gotten that client to have said, oh yeah, for sure, I'm in. But using this type of language across the lifetime of your career, depending on what it is that you're selling, you'll make thousands, tens of thousands, tens of millions of dollars more.
No, and what was funny actually, because I want to take a quick step back from business, you actually share with us how you use it literally in your family with the kids, wife. Like
a little 6-year-old was just here. I could have asked her about this, but yeah.
And can you give us a quick example for that? Because I think that everybody in the audience will love this.
So for any of you that are parents, you already know that at the end of the day, parenting is threat and reward, right? Hey, if you do a good job, you get ice cream. If you do a bad job, you're going on timeout, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. But I've found that my daughter's way more receptive using desire words. Like I just hosted a 2-day training here in my home that he was a part of. And so my little girls left with grandma for the day. They got to go to the park and go play all day long, right? And so when she was leaving yesterday morning, I was giving her a kiss. She was a little resistant because she could tell there's a lot of excitement here at the home, and she wanted to hang out and have a party. She thought we're having a party here, and she was really bummed that she was being taken away by grandma, even though they were going to go play in a park and stuff, right? And I said, instead of being like, hey, listen, you better listen to your grandma, you better behave yourself, you better do what you're told, or else when you get home, you're going to be on a timeout. I just used desire words, and I said, hey, baby girl, you're going to want to listen, and you're going to want to do your best behavior because you're going to love the family day that we have tomorrow, and you're going to enjoy the time we get to spend together. But if you don't do good listening, then unfortunately you're not going to be able to go. We're going to have to cancel, right? So just using those desire words even works at home.
I love it, and it's funny because you said you just do it up subconsciously now, and sometimes even when you talk to regular conversation with your wife, and she would actually.
Oh yeah, she catches me all the time. Yeah, I'll be like, hey, babe, you're gonna want to go get dressed because you're gonna love going out to. Shut up, Cole.
That's super funny. No, but I love it because I love the fact that you can plug it in like literally in your life, with your spouse, with your kids. So it's awesome. Now, last but not least, the lost performative. You gave us some powerful examples of that. And I literally wrote my next workshop video ad while you were giving examples yesterday.
Oh, cool.
And he said something about Thrive, the event. I think you mentioned the way that you applied that for an event ad would be, Thrive is the best conference on earth. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so Lost Performative, and a lot of this content, again, comes from my mentors. Shout out to Andy and a few others that have helped me take a lot of the stuff I was already doing and know what it actually was, and then really refine that craft. So a lost performative is a fancy way or a fancy phrase of making a big, bold statement that doesn't have, it's not fake, it's real, but it doesn't have to be rooted in something that's factually verifiable. So for instance, my event Thrive, lost performative would be me saying, Thrive is the greatest conference on earth. How can you argue that? Because what am I measuring it by? I made a big, bold statement, but what is that being measured by? If I were to be more specific and say, and I used this example yesterday, Thrive is the best event for marketing on earth. If you want to be a better marketer, you should come to Thrive. Well, now people can compare Thrive to the other marketing events that are out there. And I would say that Thrive is not the best marketing event because that's not what it's designed for. Maybe out of our 26 speakers, 4 of them even bring up the topic of marketing, where you have these other mega conferences that are designed specifically around marketing. So if I said Thrive's the best event for marketing on earth, people could say BS. But when I say Thrive is the best event on earth, says who and dictated by what? And probably the most famous example that I used, whether you're a fan of Trump or not, the current president of the US, he does this all the time. He makes big, bold statements. He says things like, America's the greatest country on earth. Says who? And by what standard? If he said, America's the best country for education on earth, actually that's false. We're like 40-something right now. In the global world, we're like 40-something for education, right? So if he was more specific, then people could fact check. But just saying America's the greatest country on earth, how are you going to argue that? And he doesn't even say, in my opinion, either, right? He doesn't say the Wall Street Journal. He just says America's the greatest country on earth. Or he says, I'll be the greatest president there is. By what standard? So to be clear, this isn't false claims. This isn't being full of crap. You got to be ethical when you use this stuff. You got to tell the truth. I do believe that Thrive is the greatest conference on earth, and so do other people. There have been articles written in Inc., Forbes, Huffington Post, Entrepreneur.com that all say Thrive is the #1 must-attend event. But that being said, I'm not lying. I'm not saying I have the biggest house in this community. Well, I know I don't. So I'm not going to be full of crap. But a lost superlative is super powerful when you're using it in the context of promoting or getting attention or getting a hook. It's almost like verbal clickbait, right? Whatever you titled the title of this video or this podcast or a blog, you want it to be big, bold, and jump out at it so people will click on it. That's coming out of your mouth, being like, this is the best episode, this is the best podcast you've ever heard.
No, 100%. And I love the fact that he gave examples in like real life and not just, from online. So I want to close it with this because I know you are a big proponent of make money matter. Mm-hmm. Somebody's, implementing everything that you just share with us. They're making, good money, 5, 6, 7 figures, whatever. How can someone understand the concept of make money matter, and how can they apply it to their own lifestyle, their own business? Because let's say somebody wants to buy, materialistic things, and they just feel, on the edge, or they feel like, hey, I don't think I deserve this or whatever. How would you recommend somebody will get into that mindset, or what kind of experience they need to try to actually, get into in that mindset of knowing that, make money matter?
So make money matter is about running businesses that are for-purpose organizations. They don't just make money, they give back, they make an impact. Therefore, they make their money matter. And shameless plug, the easiest way to get context on this is I did a TEDx talk. So it doesn't make me any money, but if you just Google my name, Cole Hatter, TEDx, you can watch it. In that 18 minutes, I explain start to finish how to set up a business that does this and makes money matter. So that's, if you want to go deeper, you can go and watch that video. But to answer your question for this podcast and to be just straight to the point, traditionally, we have businesses that are for-profit that make money, and we have businesses that are non-profit, charities that give back. And in the history of the world, you have these for-profit businesses and individuals that make the money that then write charitable donations and contributions to these various 501c3s or whatever these nonprofit organizations are. And I believe in the vision and the mission of many nonprofits, but I think they have a terrible economic model, because if that nonprofit, for whatever reason, stopped getting donors, it goes out of business. It's dead in the water. And so what a great cause, but what a terrible economic model to be solely dependent on people supporting you. So what I say is, let's blend them. Instead of having a for-profit and a not-for-profit, let's put them together and do a for-purpose, where you run a business that gives back. The most famous example probably is Tom's Shoes. If you're familiar with Tom's Shoes, are those Tom's?
No.
They look kind of like it. Yeah. So if you're familiar with Tom's Shoes, for every pair of shoes they sold, they gave a pair away. They've had to adopt their model more recently, but when they came out, for every pair of shoes they sold, they gave a pair away. Were they a nonprofit? Nope. But were they a regular for-profit? Nope. Because they were giving back within their business model. Now, Nike, they do a lot of donations. They do a lot of charitable contributions, but that's out of their profits. In their business model, there isn't a give element. So what Make Money Matter means is to not just be rich and write checks to charity, but in the actual business, every pair of shoes they sold, they gave a pair away. It's in the business model. You convert your business to what's called for purpose. So that now when you have record-breaking quarters and you've made more money and better sales and you're crushing it, you've also had record-breaking impact. And one of the key metrics that you measure on a quarterly basis is, okay, what was our ad spend? What was our revenue? What was our refunds? What was our blah, 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 and what was our impact? And that's one of the things you measure to make sure it goes up as well. And so that's what I'm super passionate about. And I want every one of you watching this that runs a business right now to consider. They say money can't buy happiness. I say if that's what you believe, you're just shopping in the wrong places. Go feed a starving child dinner with your own money and tell me that you didn't just buy your happiness by buying that kid a meal. And so what if we could make our businesses buy our happiness by every time we do a deal, we're giving back to someone in some way.
Got it. So you would recommend somebody would, be part of a organization as early as possible in their journey of starting the business, or like, what do you think is the best way to actually get started into?
Yeah, as soon as you can. So people do it two different ways. They'll either convert an existing business, like I did with my real estate business, a business that I already owned. I just added a charitable aspect to it. But like Thrive, from the day I started with a give thing. And I think it's Jim Rohn that says it's not hard to give 10 cents of a dollar, but it might be hard to give a million of 10 million, right?
Yeah.
Like if you make $1, giving away 10 cents isn't rough. You make 10 million bucks, giving away $1 million might be hard. So I would say the earlier the better, because as you build it into your economic model and your company learns how to survive with whatever it is that you're giving, whether it's product or money or something away, it's a lot easier to do that not at scale. When you make $10,000 a year, it's not hard to give away 1,000. When you grow that business to 100 million a year, it's going to be harder to give away 10 million. I'm just using that as an example. That was Jim Rohn. So it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be giving 10% away. But although 10% is the same, it hurts more to give away $1 million than it does to give away 10 cents, right, of a dollar. So to your question, I would get started as soon as possible, because the more money you make, the less inclined you might be to actually go to the for-purpose model. And that would be really sad for you, because no matter how much money you make and how much crap you buy, we're sitting on the front porch area of my dream home, and 4 of my cars, you can see from here that were all dream cars of mine as well. And that's all cool, but when I die, no one cares about any of this. No one's gonna talk about this house, those cars, or any of my vacations. They're only gonna talk about the meaningful impact I made in their lives with the time and resources I had available. So I challenge you to go for purpose and give as much away as you can.
Awesome, I love it. And I know that you mentioned a lot of these things at Thrive, and if people want to find out more about Thrive or find out more about you, where they can go to find that out?
For me, just at Cole Hatter on Instagram, Facebook, every social media platform, at Cole Hatter, my name. For Thrive, attendthrive.com. So go to the website, attendthrive.com, and see what we've got cooking.
Thanks a lot, Cole.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
If you like this episode with Cole Hatter, don't go anywhere. Start watching the next one coming up right here on my left, where I interview Pat Flynn. And Pat shares with us some powerful tactics that you can use right now to start building your own platform, your own podcast, where you can start interviewing other rock stars to grow your brand. So start watching the next video coming up right here, and I'll see you on the other side.